I'm going to walk through why the Ibanez Axe Design Lab RGDMS8 might be the right or wrong choice for you, without the usual hype that fills most first-look videos. If you're on the fence because you've seen a lot of flashy photos but you're not sure how this thing actually behaves in a rehearsal room or on stage, this review should help you weigh the real value, the day-to-day quirks, and the hidden compromises you might not think about until you've already paid. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the category itself. Multiscale, 8-string electric guitars have moved from niche metal band curiosities to a serious tool for anyone who wants extended low range without sacrificing clarity. The longer scale length on the low strings helps keep those deep notes tight, while the shorter scale on the higher strings retains the familiar feel of a 6-string. That design promise, however, comes with a set of practical questions. Do you have the right amp and speaker setup to hear the extra lows? Can you comfortably reach all 8 strings without cramping your hand? And does the instrument stay in tune when you dive into aggressive palm-muted riffs? The Axe Design Lab tackles the scale issue with a true multiscale, fanned fret, neck, and the body is carved from Nyatoh, a tone wood that sits somewhere between mahogany and maple in terms of resonance. The neck itself is a maple-walnut blend, and the fingerboard is ebony, giving a slick, fast surface that many lead players love. 2 active humbucking pickups sit in a classic double-cut layout, which means you get a higher output and a tighter low end, exactly what an 8-string needs to compete with a bass in the same mix. If you're a guitarist who already knows you need that extra low B or even a low F, the RGDMS8 can feel like a revelation. I've spent a few evenings plugging it into a 412 cabinet and running through a couple of drop C metal riffs, and the low B stayed surprisingly articulate. The active pickups push enough gain that you can dial in a heavy distortion without the notes turning into a mushy blob. For progressive players who like to switch from chuggy rhythm to soaring lead in the same song, the multi-scale layout makes those high-up solo runs feel much more natural because the higher strings retain a comfortable tension. On the other hand, if you're mostly playing clean tones or indie rock chordal work, the extra low strings can become a liability. The neck width is broader than a typical 6-string, so chord shapes that sit near the nut can feel cramped, especially if you have smaller hands. In a live setting, the added low frequencies can overwhelm a small PA system, forcing you to either roll off the low end or rely heavily on a DI box and a dedicated subwoofer. Those are not showstopper problems, but they do mean you need to think about your rig before you buy. One practical strength that's easy to overlook is the built-in wiring for active pickups. Ibanez has already installed the necessary preamp and control circuit, so you don't have to solder a battery pack yourself. The battery compartment is tucked under the pickguard, and the battery life is generally solid. Most users report getting a full gig or practice session without swapping cells. That convenience can be a big time saver if you're constantly on the road. A hidden trade-off shows up when you consider the instrument's weight. The Nyatoh body is slightly lighter than a full mahogany slab, but the extended neck, additional hardware, and 8 tuning machines add up. The guitar sits comfortably on a strap for a short rehearsal, but after an hour of standing gig, the shoulder can start to feel the load. If you're planning to use it as your only workhorse, you might want to invest in a well-padded strap or consider a balance-adjusting strap system. Another point worth mentioning is string choice. Because the low strings are longer and under higher tension, you'll need a set specifically designed for 8-string guitars. Regular 6-string sets will either feel too slack on the low end or become overly tight on the high strings, leading to intonation problems. Many players recommend starting with a set that includes a .009 gauge on the high E and a .070 or .075 on the low F, then adjusting based on personal feel. It's an extra cost and an extra step, but it's essential for keeping the instrument in tune when you dig into those low chugs. Who should buy this? If you're a metal or gent player who already uses a 7-string and is looking to push the range further, the Axe Design Lab is a logical upgrade. It also fits progressive rock musicians who want a broader tonal palette without switching guitars mid-set. The active pickups give you a strong signal that works well with modern high-gain amps, and the multi-scale neck helps preserve note definition across the whole range. In short, the guitar is built for players who need that extra low-end power and are comfortable dealing with a slightly wider neck. Who should skip it? If